Alright, what is up, folks? So I've been talking about this point often ever since I returned to China. So the vast majority of Chinese men, they're chain smokers, right? They smoke every single day. It's very normal to see a Chinese guy smoke anywhere between 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes a day, and China makes an insane amount of money from this. So the tobacco taxes collected from the sales of all the cigarettes is roughly $200 million US per year, which is an outrageous amount of money when considering the fact that basically these Chinese people, they're paying cigarettes with the Chinese yuan. They're not spending the US dollar. But honestly, I think people in Western countries, especially all of the young Western men, I think you guys actually need to copy China. I'm serious. I think the Western society needs to bring back smoking, because why did so many people smoke way back in the day in the 70s and 80s and 90s? Because people thought it was cool, right? And I think a massive reason why so many young Chinese people smoke, especially young Chinese men, is because it's glorified in the media, right? All of the Chinese politicians, the people in the military, the police officers, first responders, I would say 80% of them smoke at least 1 pack of cigarette a day. And obviously, I did mention before about Chairman Mao Zedong. He was a chain smoker. Why did he smoke so much? So I would say he smoked roughly on average 3 packs a day, right? Well, because for the most of his youth, right, China was engaged in a deadly civil war that lasted for 22 years. And in the midst of the civil war, China had to fight the Japanese for 14 years. So basically, he had no sleep every single night. He had to sleep on increments, usually 1 hour at a time. If he's extremely lucky, he might get 3 or 4 hours of sleep total per day. So that's why he's constantly smoking throughout the night. He's constantly looking at the maps. He's constantly looking at his divisions. He's constantly thinking that how he actually won this war. And I would say yes, the chain smoking actually worked for him, because he would end up coming out on top after 22 years of a deadly civil war. And also, those packages on these cigarettes, do they have the US as well? Because in the Canada, it's very, very disturbing. I think the ones that disturb people the most is the tongue. The tongue ones are fairly disturbing, and they have all these disturbing photos of a person who's on the verge of death, and obviously they have the photo with the limp cigarette. That one might be true. I'm not sure 100%. Maybe perhaps why the reason why a lot of Westerners, they have these extremely negative stereotypes about Asian men. These little tiny Asian dudes with their tiny peckers, they have no length and no girth. Perhaps it's due to these rampant smoking crisis. Although I can't be 100% sure. And obviously there are negative consequences with smoking, I can understand. So my maternal grandmother, the one who raised me, she was a chain smoker. She smoked the pipe tobacco way back in the day, the ones that's like this. And unfortunately, yes, so smoking these pipe tobaccos eventually gave her lung cancer, and but she still lived until the age of 82. The reason why I think the Western society should bring back smoking is that what I have noticed, because I have lived in the West for so many years, is that almost none of the young people actually smoke anymore. But here's the thing, right? They might not be smoking cigarettes, but they're smoking something else, right? This is why you have this rampant overdose crisis, right? Instead of smoking cigarettes, they're doing cocaine or heroin or fentanyl. And a lot of young people are vaping nowadays. A bunch of people are smoking weed all the time. Even just smoking weed, honestly, I think it's worse than smoking cigarettes. Listen, if you had to choose a hobby, right? I talk about, how over 99% of Chinese men, right? They have at least one of these hobbies. It's either smoking or drinking or gambling, right? So if you're addicted to gambling, you're 100% screwed. And if you're addicted to drinking, nothing good ever comes out of that either. Because either there's 2 scenarios, right? If you're a raging alcoholic, right? Scenario number A is that you turn 100% retarded after you get drunk. You're like, bruh, well, I don't know, man. I had like 27 beers. I love you, dude. I don't know. Is that the moon? Do you guys see werewolves? I'm sorry, that's why I quit drinking over 8 years ago, right? Because that's scenario number A. And scenario number B is that a lot of people, after they get drunk, they get extremely, extremely violent, right? Just look at all the sexual assaults, look at all the rapes that happens, right? I would say 99% of the time, right? These rapes, these sexual assaults, they happen. It's usually after the consumption of alcohol, right? So it makes people stupid and it makes people violent. So I mean, like, if you're going to have one negative hobby, might as well choose to smoke cigarettes. cigarettes. By the way, I have never ever smoked a single cigarette. I'm not telling you guys it's good for you, but I think what's happened to this generation, especially Gen Z. Honestly, like what percentage of Gen Z youths in the West, in the United States or Canada, actually smoke cigarettes anymore? I would say it's maybe 3%. It could be less. It could be 2%. And you might think this is actually a positive trend for society, but just look at how messed up Gen Z is, right? So, people way back in the day, think about, like the 90s into the early 2000s. What do they call these people, right? The goths, right? Because people thought turning themselves into goths were cool, right? People way back in the day, these young people, they smoked was to rebel against their parents. The 13 years old, right? They pump the 404 hormones. They're completely rebellious. They want to piss off their parents, right? They want to stand out. So smoking was a way to, basically to make themselves look cool. But what happens, now that almost none of the youths smoke anymore, right? Now they say that, oh, maybe I should change my gender. Oh, maybe it's cool to be gay. Maybe I should choose to get drilled from behind by LeBron James or Diddy or something. A lot of these youths are saying that, oh, I don't smoke cigarettes, but now I'm non-binary. Oh, actually, I'm a gender neutral. Oh, actually, I'm a gender queer. Oh, maybe I should turn myself into a drag queen. Or maybe, you know what? Maybe I am two-spirited. You see, right? All of this has happened very, very recently, right? All of this, 2S, LGBTQ, NAI++, right? All of this stuff. And I think it's because, a lot of these youths, right? It's the lack of nicotine. We need to bring back smoking because that used to be cool. But now, turning yourself into a drag queen, that's what's considered to be cool. And this is why in China, right, there's virtually no LGBTQ because, so many people smoke all the time. And perhaps this will be good for the Asian man, right? If more white man, if more black man, more Hispanic man smoke the cigarettes all the time. I'm talking about chain smokers. I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 packs a day. If cigarettes actually did cause your penis to shrink, maybe this will actually even out the playing field. This will give the Asian man a better chance at dating. I mean, America is in the middle of a deadly epidemic, right? You have 100,000 Americans that's dying from overdose a year. Why are so many Americans dying from overdose, right? They're extremely addicted to these hardcore drugs, right? So instead of doing roofies or heroin or cocaine or fentanyl, I mean, honestly, cigarettes is a 10 times better option. Once again, right, Chairman Mao Zedong, he was a chain smoker for all of his life. And look at the outcome, right? He became a god in China, and he still lived until he was 82 years old. So yes, I think that should be the next slogan for President Donald Trump, right? He should make smoking great again in America. Yeah, honestly, just put out some ads out there. Get rid of these stupid labels. Try to lower the tobacco taxes. Make cigarettes cheaper, and encourage more young people to smoke. Maybe if more young people in America actually smoked the cigarettes daily, there will be 10 times less of these mental health crises, right? People wouldn't be becoming suicidal. Children wouldn't be running away from their home, running away from their parents, right? There wouldn't be a massive epidemic of 100,000 Americans overdosing from hardcore drugs every single year. But perhaps, this can fix a lot of the problems in our society. Because, yes, I did mention before, right? China obviously has a lot of problems. But all of that aside, right? I've been living in China for the past 4 months plus now, 4.5 months, right? China is one of the safest countries in the world. In the past 4 months plus, I have traveled to 24 different cities. And this includes counties, this includes small towns and villages. I have not had a single issue at all, right? China has virtually zero violent crimes. Yes, the country does have a lot of issues. I did mention, obviously, rampant divorces, fall of a nuclear family, right? Children being raised without either one of their parents, and, collapsing birth rate. All of that aside, right, China is still extremely, extremely safe. And look at what's happening in America. Look at the UK, look at France, look at Germany. And I think, one of the key reasons why is that, a lot of these Western youths, especially Western men, they're just not smoking cigarettes. I think the nicotine probably has some kind of a taming effect to prevent these Chinese men from becoming violent. The country has virtually zero violent crimes. And I'm telling you, man, the cigarettes, the nicotines, I think it helps. I understand it's not the perfect solution, but, whatever you guys have going on in America and Canada is 10 times worse than smoking cigarettes. So yes, that is my ultimate message at the end of this video, right? I think a lot of these Western youths, especially young men, they need to start copying the Chinese man, and yes, start smoking cigarettes. And yes, we need to make smoking great again. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will come back to this topic.
I won't ever let the doubt creep in. Gotta pop a couple more aspirin. I don't think I'll ever let you in.